Instructions for accessing subtitles in a language other than English are included on our board meetings webpage as well as in the description below. Instrucciones para acceder a los subtítulos en un idioma que no sea el inglés se incluyen en nuestra página web de reuniones de la Junta, así como en la descripción a continuación.
All right, thank you, everybody. Welcome back. We are reconvening from closed session at 7:43. I'm reporting out from our closed session. The first item, public employee performance evaluation for title superintendent. There was no action taken, nothing to report on that. For item number 5, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to government code 549569, subdivision D2 or 3, special education program dispute, 3 cases, student SSIDs 317-251-3915, 328-753-8426, and 971-184-8834. All 3 of those were approved.
Resolution.
The resolutions were approved as recommended by council, I guess. And then for student discipline or other confidential matters in code sections 35146, 48918, 48900 at sec 48912B, and 49060 at sec and 20 USC section 1232G. SSID 254-196-3453. The board approved staff's recommendation to expel in the matter regarding student SSID 254-196-3453. And moving on to procedural items. The first one is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would like to join me, please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item is to adopt the agenda and time allocations. Did anybody have any changes to our agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Okay, do I have a second?
I will second.
All right, Shelley?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Daniel?
Aye.
And Rachel, aye. We have an agenda. Next item is communication. Public comment regarding items not on the open session agenda. So if there's anything on our agenda, just wait until that item comes up. Otherwise, you can make a comment now if it's not on our agenda. Do we have any public comment? All right, seeing none, I will be moving on. The next item is correspondence communication to the board. We did not have any. Next is announcements, superintendent, cabinet, and labor unions. So,
The superintendent and cabinet will wait to give updates at the end of the meeting, and we'll cede our time to the union.
fantastic. So, our union reps.
Hi, Christina Workley, RVT Co-Vice President.
Eric Steve.
We are here to represent RVT's educators. Our union members have voted and we endorse and believe in the parcel tax. We believe in education and educating our Ross Valley community about the parcel tax. While the public may hear some speak out against the parcel tax, we believe we have the support of our family community. Our families care. They support Ross Valley education and educators.
Our kids and our students are the future. Without the parcel tax, cuts will have to be made. Cuts taking out electives like PE and counselors, impacting students' physical health, mental health, and social emotional well-being. Not passing the parcel tax hurts our future, the community at large. Our students receive more electives, musical choices, multiple language classes, designer lab, free tutoring. If we can't pass the parcel tax, all those things are in jeopardy, and our future leaders won't have the leg up they deserve.
We recognize that many teachers live in the district and will be paying this parcel tax, but they believe in the importance of the future. Many of our educators who live in other districts support and pay the parcel taxes in their own neighborhoods because we all believe in supporting the future. The Ross Valley community, including educators, are ready to support our future.
Passing the parcel tax will attract and retain students who will be our next school board members, our next mayors, our next teachers, police officers, doctors, mechanics, electricians, contractors, and firefighters, to name just a few. There's a song you all might know from the 80s, we want to say, I believe our children are the future, teach them well, let them lead the way. Whitney Houston. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
CSEA would like to support RPTA in supporting this parcel tax. We would like to thank the board for reviewing the 24-25 CSEA contract, and we look forward to a more generous settlement if the parcel tax is approved by the community.
Thank you. And our next item, and at this time, if you're out here and you are a teacher or an educator and you would like to leave, you may leave without embarrassing us. We won't be embarrassed if you leave or feel unwanted. I know your evenings are important, so please thank you. Please enjoy. But thank you for being here. All right. Okay, so our next item is presentation and/or action items. The first one is adoption of Resolution 10-2425, recognizing February 25th as Black History Month.
Yeah, so this is a resolution just marking February as Black History Month. I think it's important for us to understand the struggles of African Americans in the United States. And that is just the first step, also recognizing the resistance of African Americans from the time they've set foot in America till today, and the immense contributions of African Americans to our economy, education, industry of our country. I think it's something that's really important. And I would urge families to celebrate African American History Month with their families, and use this as an opportunity to begin, if they haven't already, having a conversation around race with their child, regardless of the race of their children. I think it's really important to celebrate this month, and also just to note that it doesn't have to only happen in the 28 days of February. It should happen really 365 days a year. Thank you for considering.
Have any questions? No questions? No public here for public comment, so I'll bring it back for discussion.
I would have thought this we already would have been done. Like that's interesting. So thanks for bringing this to our attention.
Yeah, there's a lot of these where apparently hadn't been done in the past, I think. So I think especially now with what's going on at the federal level, that this is a really important thing, that we are still continuing to acknowledge the importance of this.
Yes.
And the importance of the diversity and the differences in celebrating it. So appreciate you bringing this forward.
I agree. I appreciate that. And I'm assuming that this resolution isn't on a standing resolution, an ongoing resolution. It's not something we have to do every year.
We can. I think sometimes it's nice to bring these resolutions yearly just to remind the public of what we're celebrating each month, and it's an opportunity for us to urge our community to educate children at home about important topics like this as well.
I definitely think every year having an acknowledgement, but I like the idea of having a resolution that informs future generations of school board people that this is what we do, because we adopted it as a standing, we institutionalized it basically, that said this is what we do as a district because we passed a resolution saying it's what we do, not just because it's what this group of people this year decided to do. So I guess my question was more of a statement. I would hope that this is a way of not just making a statement this month with this board, but as a statement that should future boards choose to undo it, they would have to undo it, not do it again. But we should always celebrate it.
All right. Any other feedback, comments? No? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend, approve resolution 10/24/25, recognizing February 2025 as Black History Month.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a second. Daniel.
Aye.
Shelley.
Aye.
Chris. And Rachel. Aye. Thank you. We have approved that resolution. The next item is recommended approval of 2024-25 tentative agreement and memorandum of understanding between the Ross Valley School District Board of Trustees and the California School Employees Association, Golden Heights, Chapter 719, SEA. Is that
This will be Chris.
okay? Chris, there you go. And Rachel.
So with this agreement, we will close out our current 3-year agreement. And so this will run us through the end of the current school year. We are actually in the process of starting the process with our next round of negotiations. We have those meetings already scheduled. But this agreement this evening would provide a retroactive pay increase of 1.35% to CSEA staff members, as well as a tiered off-schedule bonus, and also bringing them health and welfare costs so that they would have the same health and welfare costs that are paid for employee only that the certificated staff had previously agreed upon. And this is in line with the agreement with RVTA.
Questions for Chris?
That was my question, just if this was in line with the current teachers' plan.
So this is just following along what we've done every year, our practice of having common offerings with the different bargaining units. Okay.
The only thing I would say that's different with CSEA is that we did agree for this 1 year to do a tiered off-schedule bonus. So 10-month employees get a $500, 11-month employees get $550, and 12-month employees get $600 off schedule one time.
Thank you.
All right, there's no public comment. Do we have any discussion up here?
No more discussion.
I appreciate the fact that we're getting these wrapped up and are looking forward to doing next year's negotiations already, so I have no other comment for that. If not, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I will make a motion to approve of the 2024-25 tentative agreement and memorandum of understanding between RVSD Board of Trustees and the California School Employees Association, Golden Heights, Chapter 719.
Great, I will second. Oh, you're gonna be,
Oh.
okay, no, go ahead.
No, you could. You
I
have
will,
to do it
I will,
often.
I will second it then. So Chris,
Aye.
Rachel, aye, Shelley,
Aye.
and Daniel.
Aye.
All right, we have approved that, thank you very much. The next item is the recommended approval of compensation and health and welfare adjustments for the 2024-25 school year for the unrepresented classified confidential staff.
And this is me again. We have 3 staff members that are considered unrepresented, and one of them is actually in the room this evening, Teresa. And it's in line with what you just approved.
Yeah, it's just exactly the same.
Any questions, Chris? No? No public for comment? Bring it back for discussion, if there's any? All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, recommended approval, to approve the compensation and health and welfare adjustments for the 24-25 school year for the unrepresented classified confidential staff.
Second?
All right, Shelley?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Daniel?
Aye.
Rachel, aye. Approve that one, thank you. The next item is recommended approval of compensation and health and welfare adjustments for the 2024-25 school year for the unrepresented certificated management and classified management staff.
And this is me again. This is both certificated and classified management, so that would be staff such as our principals and our directors would be included with this. And again, it's in line with the 2 agreements that you just passed as well.
Great. Do you have any questions? No? We have no public comment. Bring it back for discussion. All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve the compensation and health and welfare adjustments
for the 2024-25 school year for unrepresented certificated management and classified management staff.
Great, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
Aye.
Daniel?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Rachel? Aye. Approve that one. The next item is recommended approval of the compensation and health and welfare adjustments for the 2024-25 for the chief business official.
And again, this is me, but this is also related to me. It's in line with the others. The only difference is that I'm not requesting the $500 off-schedule bonus.
You didn't go with that last year too, I recall.
It was the
Yeah.
same thing as last year.
Anybody have any questions for Chris other than that? Okay. No public comment? There's no one here. Any discussion among the board?
I mean, thank you for voluntarily foregoing that $500 or $600 bonus. You don't have to do that, but thank you.
Yeah, that is appreciated, especially 2 years in a row. Thank you. All right, any further discussion?
So what, if we give you this $500, what's the impact? It's $500.
It's not much.
It's not much, but
But I had heard what the public was saying as well, that they didn't want us to necessarily get the same as what everybody else did. And, it's one of those things that I'm trying to at least show the public that I'm also listening.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's just meaningful. It's very meaningful, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
It was very meaningful.
All right, there's no further discussion. I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make a motion to approve the compensation and health and welfare adjustments for the 24-25 for chief business official.
I will second.
All right, Shelley?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Daniel?
Aye.
And Rachel, aye. Thank you, Chris. The next item is recommended approval of the health and welfare adjustments for the 2024-25 school year for the superintendent.
Do you want
I'm just asking to have the increase the health and welfare benefits to cover my own health and welfare benefits, the same that everyone else is getting, and which is written into my contract. I'm not asking for the 1.35% increase because in my estimation, I've already signed a contract to work for my current salary, and don't expect an increase mid-year, and I'm not taking the off schedule either.
Any questions? No? No public for public comment? Any discussion among the board on this item?
I just think that your gestures to forego these raises and bonuses really speaks volumes to your commitment to ensuring that the optics of the district are really in favor of the things that we want to do. So I just want to make sure that you know how much I appreciate that. And it's not an easy thing to do.
She said it better than I would have. Thank you, Chris. And thank you both of you. But I appreciate it. Any further discussion up here?
No, I think it's well done.
Yeah, Chris nailed it. Good job, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on this item then.
I will make a motion to approve the health and welfare adjustments for the 2024-25 school year for the superintendent.
Second.
Chris?
Aye.
Shelley?
Aye.
Daniel?
Aye.
Rachel? Aye. All right, very good. Thank you. The next item is enrollment update.
Great. I have a brief enrollment update here. Teresa, can you pull the colorful one up for us?
Yep.
So this is just showing us where we're at with enrollment as of today. And this is not enrollment for next year, but as of right now for this year. We're at 1685. And you can kind of see, it's gone down a little bit over the past few years by about 70 students. We talked about patterns last time and seeing, there's a little uptick in certain areas and a little decrease in other areas, but that's pretty stable from the beginning of the year. I think we've been hovering right around 1680 to 1685. This actually might be one of the higher numbers over the course of the year. I have seen our admin assistants, every time we have a student leave or come in, they share that, and they share where the students are leaving to and where they're coming from, and that's been really helpful to notice. And I do think there have been more incoming students than outgoing students this year, which is great to see. Can you show the average daily attendance one? So here's the attendance that we've been working on. Again, pre-pandemic levels, you're kind of like hoping for 97%. I think I know our goal this year is to be right around 96%. So big kudos to Brookside. Brookside's been doing an excellent job. And I know the teachers and Amanda have been working really hard to message that. Hidden Valley's right there, just below 96. Manners at 95, so right there in striking distance. And Wade Thomas is at 96. I'd say for a middle school, not at 94 is pretty darn good. Middle school's at 95 by the end of the year. That's good. So I want to give our community kudos for sending your kids to school. I know some mornings are tough, and it's not easy to get the little one to school, but thank you. This really helps us fund our schools and pay our teachers. And I do know that this spring, from here on through the end of the year, we do see a little bit of a slide. So just want to encourage folks to continue the good work that they're doing.
This is great for the flu season too. It's been pretty bad.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you project these numbers to end at? If they're at 96 now, low 96, high 95s, do you think we'll end up in 95, 94 range?
I think we'll probably be on average at the 95 range.
Okay, cool.
Chris, what do you think?
In that range, yeah.
Yeah.
You would normally expect it to go down about 1% between now and the P2 attendance, which is the end of March.
And so since Whitehill has twice the many students as each elementary school, if that math makes sense, and they're at 94, is that they have a higher percentage of students. So all in all, at the end of the year, we think we'll be at around 95% ADA.
Or, yeah, in that range.
Maybe just a little bit below that.
Yeah.
94, 95. Okay.
And does this help us bump up the bogey a little bit in terms of our campaign? Like, will it be worth it financially, you think, if we stay in that?
Absolutely, because we talked about the enrollment earlier
Right.
on the slide before.
Yep.
Where we're showing that we're dropping in our enrollment.
Right.
What the attendance rate does is amplify or help
Right.
your enrollment in terms of your
That's good.
LCFF dollars.
Okay. Great.
So I think, my goal for us would be to have a strong finish to the year and see these numbers stay stable, if not bump up. That's very optimistic. It will likely go down. But I do want to encourage our community, because this is one of the big things we've been talking about all year, to continue to send your kids to school.
With the midwinter break and spring break coming up in the next few months, is it messaging going to go out before, like, hey, don't take an extra Friday or Monday off around those weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I can do that. Yep.
That'd be helpful, because I know that we usually have a spike, like a really noticeable spike that Julia brought to us on the graph once, where I was like, wow, that's a lot more people absent that day. I think that may help as well.
Great.
There's no public here for public comment. Do we have any discussion up here on the board side?
I have one more document I want to show you, and I'll
Oh,
go
sorry.
quickly.
Excuse me.
That's fine.
Sorry.
That's fine. Wanted to give you, first of all, I want to give a huge shout out to all of our admin assistants. This is like a huge lift for them, getting attendance and supporting families. And Teresa Machado has been the lead in that. She really is our enrollment department this year. She's deserves all the gold stars for the work that she's doing. She's been enrolling students individually in Spanish, even though she doesn't speak Spanish. She's using tools to help. I've been really impressed by what she's done there. Really optimistic about TK enrollment. A big part of that TK enrollment has been the expansion of the age range, which allows for more enrollment. It looks like we're probably going to have 7 TK classrooms next year. We have 4 this year, so almost doubling of the students. and we encourage all families to send their kids to TK. We're excited about that. We'll probably have 2 at Hidden Valley. We will have 2 at Hidden Valley. Or let me say that again. We will have 2 at Wade Thomas. We will have 2 at Manor. We're likely going to have 2 at Hidden Valley, and we'll probably have 1 at Brookside. Julie has been doing an awesome job working on kind of the Rubik's Cube of combo classes and do we transfer students, and we had a really good conversation with our principals on that on Tuesday. So we've got a good plan, and we're going to kind of see how things shake out. Teresa's sending confirmation emails to families here in the next couple weeks, and then we'll get started on hiring. So exciting to see this at 1680 for next year, which is a minimal drop, and hopefully we'll see that number kind of go up a little bit between now and the end of the summer.
Have you looked at these numbers with matriculated rollover, assuming students who are here, say in 3rd grade, will continue even if they haven't registered, to kind of look at and project out to know how much of this is either new students coming in versus rollover, and if all the rest roll over and that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's what we usually do, is roll over the 3rd grade to the 4th grades.
But that's not what we're looking at here. What we're looking at here is actually families that have, is this actually families that have said they're coming back, or is this our projection based on who's currently enrolled?
Isn't this?
We haven't asked who's not coming back yet.
Okay, we haven't done
So
this.
it's rollover plus registrations.
Got it. Okay.
So the top one is the new registrations, and then the middle one is inclusive of registrations and current students.
Gotcha. Thank you very much. Okay.
And so our kindergarten, we have about a handful of students less coming in than we do this year.
We have 2 sites with low kindergarten enrollment for next year.
Thanks for that explanation.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions?
Oh, can I ask a question about enrollment?
Of course.
And also projections, as far as if we're working with the group to see where these numbers might be in the next year or 4?
We will have, or should have, a draft copy of our demographic study by the end of this week.
Okay.
And for our next board meeting, we're hoping to bring them in and provide the governing board a rundown of that study.
All the anecdotal evidence that I have suggests that there is an influx of younger kids on the way, but that doesn't align with the last demographic study we have at all. So we want to go out, and that was, I think we did that in 2021. A lot has changed in San Anselmo and Fairfax in the last 4 years, so we need some fresh data on that to see where things are.
And I think the other thing for that, and then probably we'll also look at, which is also very new, is the TK. What the impact of having TK, having families be part of our school community at TK, that then influences their decision to be in our public school system, as opposed to having their entire preschool someplace else and then deciding it to kindergarten. I'm imagining that that's going to have an influence on increasing enrollment, because they're going to become kindergartners who 1st graders, so that when you roll that over for 5 years, it should, if you look at these numbers, make a big difference. And that's very different than I think was in place or assumed at our last evaluation or our last studies.
Yeah, that's a hope, and you see the K numbers are a little bit on the lower side. So we're hoping to see, a robust TK enrollment this year that matriculates to K, and another robust group come in next year. So
right.
That's kind of the hope.
Yeah, because even this TK at 130, let's call it, is still 30 students less than what we have in 1st grade, 2nd grade.
Yeah.
There was a really good TKK preview night, if we can talk about that. That seemed to be successful at Brookside last week. There must have been 30, 40 people in the room.
I heard good things about that as well.
Alright. Since I jumped the gun earlier, there's no public here for public comment. Can bring it back here for discussion. If there's any additional.
Oh, good.
Seeing no need for further discussion on this topic, we can move on since this is just discussion and information. The next item is mid-year LCAP update. Go ahead, Julia.
That's right. All right, yeah, so this is, it's not going. Do you have a sample check? There we go. So the mid-year LCAP update is is kind of what it sounds like. It's just an opportunity for us to bring to the board kind of where we are in terms of two things: our metrics, how we measure our progress in terms of our LCAP goals and actions, and then also budget overview in terms of how we're spending our money on these various goals and actions. And so just a reminder of our LCAP goals, that we have a goal. That first goal is really around academic achievement, and remembering that North Star that we have of eliminating or reducing the predictability of learning outcomes based on who kids are and where they come from. And then goal 2 is really designed towards student wellness and the programs that we have in place to support our students. And goal 3 is engaging with our community, our parents and guardians, and making sure that everyone is feeling welcome and having a sense of belonging on our campuses. Just a little reminder in terms of metrics, that 2019 at the top right are the results from pre-pandemic. You may have seen there's articles coming out right now about how our students are doing across the nation, and which states and which districts are getting close to those pre-pandemic results.
Did you see the New York Times article today with the numbers? Awful. We are looking great. Just fine.
Well, California's 14th, I think, in terms of comeback, but yeah,
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, and it's the divide, right?
It's the great, it's the belt.
Yeah, there's truly some called an equity gap, some called an opportunity gap, but there's a gap in terms of how our kids are performing and progressing. Last year we were at almost 76% for ELA and 64% for math, and we went up a little bit last year. So I guess in 2023 those were the results, and now in 2024 we really are just about there. We're 1 point away in ELA and 2 points away in math. So hoping that this will be the year that we top it. We can maybe end that conversation of returning to pre-pandemic rates.
And Julia, is that the pre-pandemic rates? Is that the gold standard? Is that?
It's what we talk about because there really was a significant dip.
Sure. But I mean,
that hit.
Are we happy with the 77? Like, are we happy with it regardless of?
We want, yeah. There's always room for growth, and
so let's get back first and then keep going.
Yeah, particularly in math, I really want to see, some more students meeting student standards.
And then is there, do students typically progress from level 1 to level 2, or sometimes you can jump from 1 to 3 or 2 to 4?
Sometimes students jump 2 levels. And one of the things we have to remember with the levels is that there's a lot of space inside those levels. So you can have kids that are, at the top of one level and jump to the bottom 2 levels ahead, that kind of thing. In fact, the California dashboard, when they're reporting academic scores, they're really more looking at the actual number and where they are inside the level than they are just looking at, do they meet or exceed the standard. Alrighty, so we're going to just go through some metrics here. So for goal 1, these are metrics that are written into our LCAP, and we just talked about CAS. We don't know yet our outcome is unknown for where we'll be with CASP at the end of the year. But we do have something new for us, which is our local assessment, iReady, and I put our beginning of year scores there. So across the district, K through 8, at the beginning of the year, 56% met or exceeded grade level proficiency in reading and 37% in math. Those are normal scores there. We don't anticipate kids at the beginning of the year to meet grade level standards because they've got a whole year of teaching ahead of them. But you can see now in the middle of the year, we've gone from that 56 to 73 and 37 to 60. And so we anticipate that those scores will continue to grow. And it's been really just incredibly helpful to see this kind of data across our district, and our teachers are really digging into that data and using it to inform instruction. And we're doing that as a district level as well. We found one place where at one of the grade levels, more students were really not meeting the standard, and so we put a plan in place using intervention teachers and our instructional coach, and we're going through a whole cycle of intervention with those students and really creating a plan for them. So really great to have that data. And then English learner progress. Last year, the progress was 52.6% making progress towards standard, and we were in the yellow status. We don't know yet where we'll be at the end of this year, but hoping for more students making progress and moving out of that yellow into the green or the blue. And then these are metrics that we are required to use for the LCAP, and they're all pretty straightforward. All our teachers are appropriately credentialed. All our students have access to standards-aligned instructional materials. Our middle school students do not drop out, so we have a 0% dropout rate there. English learner reclassification rate, that's something that we're actually kind of digging into right now and looking at, in particular, students who are termed long-term English learners, where they're not making that progress that allows them to be reclassified as English proficient. They kind of get stuck, and one of the things we talk about is on the LPAC, to be reclassified, you're meant to have the highest performance level, which is a 4. But many of our English-only speaking students would not score a 4. And so you get kind of in this stuck place that doesn't feel right or fair or good for kids. So that's something we're digging into. And then Chris is all about our facilities inspection tool, which always seems to be a good rating, and I imagine we'll continue that good rating. And then this slide shows you where we are spending dollars right now, and kind of where we are in terms of our progress. I don't think I need to go through those specifically, though.
I just go back to that one. I just want to name the one thing I'm really proud of. One of the many things I'm really proud of recently is the work we've been doing on our ELA adoption, and I think Melina and Julie have been doing an excellent job leading our team through a pretty rigorous approach to picking our next English language arts program. We've had teachers in this room for 3 days in a row. We'll have teachers here again tomorrow. And we have Larkspur, Corte Madera visiting, and Lagunitas. So we're kind of doing a collaborative approach, bringing in other districts to chat about what really high quality English language arts instruction looks like. So to Daniel, your point, is getting to pre-pandemic enough. It's first step, and hopefully an ELA adoption that gives our new teachers the tools they need, and our experienced teachers a scaffolding to build from. We can keep seeing increases in those numbers.
And then goal 2, metrics that we have around our Panorama student survey. I think that the survey will be administered to students right after the February break. And so we're planning to get those results earlier this year. We feel like we've implemented the survey a little bit late in the year in previous years. Hoping to see an increase there. And then suspension rates in Ross Valley are very, very low. And there's not a huge discrepancy amongst student groups. And so really wanting to just maintain those low suspension rates with the understanding that sometimes suspension is an appropriate consequence. And then attendance rate, we're doing really well. We already talked about that this evening. And then again, budgeted expenditures for those various actions. We have not gotten started on an SEL program. Really, to be honest, we're doing a little bit of exploring, but right now at the elementary level, the ELA process that we're going through, and then at the middle school level, mathematics, and then iReady, K-8. You don't want initiative overload. There's only so much that you can really grapple with in a given time. Interestingly, the ELA program that we're looking at right now, which is called EL Education, has a really strong SEL component embedded in the
I was gonna ask whether there's a
program.
way of embedding it into the others so that it's all encompassing as opposed to separate.
Exactly.
That's great.
Okay. And then our third LCAP goal, metrics. Again, the parent guardian survey that is a part of Panorama, which we have not yet administered this year, so no new data there. Eric put together our special education parent survey, and which was administered last year, and again this year, and revised this year, and so that the some of the
A couple of questions, yeah, just there are a lot of the same ones.
And then we talked about how we launched our DLAC meeting. It was kind of a combo meeting with a multilingual learners celebration, and it was hugely successful. We are planning on having 2 additional DLAC meetings this year, kind of a celebration at the end of the year, and then before that one that might be a Zoom that's more informational, providing more information on resources for families who are concerned about immigration and ICE and all of the difficulties that they're facing right now. But we've also done a tremendous amount of communicating with our families of how we can support them and providing information. And then expenditures for LCAP Goal 3. I did want to note that the equity work doesn't really show up as much in the LCAP because we've been paying for it through our anti-bias grant. And so there's quite a few expenditures there, but they're not right here. So mainly we're spending some money on food and childcare and interpretation and translation. All right, so in terms of developing our LCAP for this year, it's really a revision of our current LCAP. And so we, to help us make any possible revisions, it is administering that survey to our students and our parents and guardians and staff, getting some feedback there, feedback from our educational partners, and then moving towards refining the LCAP. Our educational partners, the main one really is that Superintendent's Council, which has site and district admin, parent representatives, our equity task force representatives, and we're hoping to be able to bring more of our multilingual families of multilingual learners into that group. And then Delight, our teacher group, separately DLAC, we'll be doing some work with them, getting feedback for the LCAP. And then students, I was just talking with John and Mary Claire, we're gonna run some kind of smaller empathy interviews with students of really trying to dig in and find out what school is like for them and what they advise us in terms of where we can do better. And that, I think, is my last slide. This is a presentation only, no need to vote or approve.
That's great.
Any questions for Julie?
I was just gonna say I really appreciate and have seen and I'm hopeful that the iReady, that like in the short cycle feedback that we're getting from iReady, and then there was a couple of other, there was another one, there's a square down here. But that, one thing that's I've always felt a little, like the reading screener.
Yeah.
And things like that has always felt unsatisfactory to me about having the once a year CASP or the once a year panorama or the once a year things, is that by the time you do that, those students are now on to the fourth grade, not the third grade, which is and it's a whole different group of students that you're testing the next year. And so because you're not having that longitudinal assessment, you really,
It's an autopsy.
It's really
and
hard.
It gives you some patterns
Right.
that can provide some direction, but it's not what's going to really impact how we support individual students.
Yeah, so I really like that we've brought in the combination of the two with the interim assessments, because it feels like, and just looking at the interim for the iReady and the difference between the start and the interim, I think bodes well for what it will portend for the end of the year.
And I'll add to that Sean Maher, Director of Technology, has put together a spreadsheet. It's kind of a fancy spreadsheet using something called Airtable. And on this one, it's got every student and all of these different data points, and we can sort it any way we want to. So we can take a quick look at our Black kids, take a look at our multilingual learners, take a look at all of our third graders. And then any child that you click on, you get all of their data, their reading screener, their iReady data, their CASP data, if they're in middle school, their grades. And so that it's a brand new tool for us. And it has been phenomenal. And that was Sean and also Paula.
That's great. Yeah, I've seen some of those also that have also help parents to see. It's like a portfolio, if you will, for students. And it's really, and it can stay so that the next teacher can look back and see the entire, like you said, like longitudinal and continuing portfolio. So that's awesome.
Somewhat of a similar question. You'll tell me if it's not. So a lot of the kids have at-home access to programs on the computer that they're working. I can't think of the name that my kids are doing something with math.
IXL maybe?
Yeah, what is it?
IXL.
IXL? Pretend it's that.
Maybe we're not doing that one this year. I don't think they're doing
Like for fun.
No, well, it's from they're doing it in the classroom, and then they also can do it at home.
Oh, MyPad from iReady.
Yeah, there's a couple, and I should know specifically. But now that we're becoming more aware of the dangers of internet, just addiction to devices through notifications or chimes, or I have to get 13 gold cards today, I have to do it today, this idea of unwanted addiction. Who's looking at that from the district level about like what the kids are doing to then not say, I have to go on today to get my 3 coins, or I have to beat this monster to continue learning math, which is good, but the addiction to devices is the thing that's not helpful.
I mean, that's not a component of iReady, so
Right.
that must be a different program that you're speaking to, maybe Math Mammoth, or I'm not sure.
But just comprehensively at the district level.
So we have a set of guidelines, and we really spent a lot of time talking about how much technology or how much screen time are kids doing in the classroom, and then also really having that conversation about, and I do think we need to be wary of just naming screen time as if all screen time is equal, and looking at when are we consuming screens and when are we using it as a tool, because we all are doing both of those things, right, as adults as well. And I think we self-monitor and have learned to self-monitor some of those parts that are not as good for us. And that's something that we need to be teaching our kids. But having some educational technology, it has its place. We're able to get this data, and we're able to provide differentiated instruction for kids. But it is something that we need to be thinking about in terms of how much time they're on screens. We're not asking our kids to go home and get on screens. We're hoping that they're doing other kinds of things that feed the soul.
I really like what you said though about we're in a different period. I mean, go outside and do whatever isn't as easy as it was in the 80s and 90s. But I do think that one of the things that we're finding beneficial in our household, for example, is one of our kids will sit down with the computer and learn how to tie fishing knots, and sort of have that educational, interaction.
Physical.
And that is allowable screen time within a certain, parameters. And then you get the pleasurable screen time 2 hours a week, right? But I think like those challenges, if they're learning something, all of these things are geared to make you want to engage and be addicted. Even Duolingo, and I'm doing it. I'm like, the cartoons are cute.
Well, that's why I stopped doing that with my 8-year-old. I was like, you gotta take a 2-day break, but I'm gonna miss my thing. I'm like, that's why you're not doing it.
Yeah, you get
right
like the
now.
bird and it flies and you're like, oh, this is so stimulating, and I get that. But there's also an educational aspect to it as well. We have to sort of, it's hard to come into that. I see what you're saying, but I really appreciate the educational aspect of it too, that
There's a
It's a
lot
whole
to
new-
navigate,
a whole
and
new
a
world.
lot of it kind of fell apart, right, when kids were home during the pandemic, and just the speed at which things have changed and what that access is.
Yeah.
I think social media is the piece that parents need to be the most concerned about. But there's precursors to that, right, when they're younger.
We're going to have this as one of the topics at the next superintendent's council. A couple parents are really interested in having this conversation. And I think it'll be a continuation of the guidelines that we have and, a deepening of that conversation over time.
When I think the age of the child is important too, because the time when you're a kindergartner or a TK to me seems a lot less important on a computer than doing stuff that's physical and active. So I think that it does change. I know that my 8th grader doesn't enjoy doing the time on the computer for homework. And she's just like, I have to do this versus like, oh, I want to do it because it's fun. It's like, no, you're doing like pre-algebra, it's not fun.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting line to draw. The age is a lot, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Julia.
All right, no public comment on this one? No further comments here on the board? All right, so I will move on to our next item. Thank you. The next item is authorization for advertisement for bid number 242502 for asphalt work, bid number 242503 roofing, bid number 242504 for play structures, and bid 242505 for shade structures. Chris.
So this is just seeking authorization from you to put them out to bid. And so it's just the beginning process. Once we put the bids out, we would be coming back to the governing board for approval or denial of bids. And I do want to say that even with this beginning process, even on Monday, I found that we may not need to do a bid for our play structure for the current year. So we might be able to get that done still, but it would be under the bid thresholds. And so it would not require us to do that. So we're still working to see what we can do, but we're going to put these out as quickly as possible. I was working with legal counsel to get the documents, and I'm starting to put them together beginning tomorrow.
And some of these projects are in response to the one-time funds that we got from the sale of property and the parent feedback and community feedback that we got earlier in the year. So this is part of that response.
I was gonna ask that.
And you'll also note there's one that's missing on here at the moment, and that's the bridge project at Brookside. It's not that we're not doing anything with that. I'm working with the legal counsel also to see what type of bid we can do with it. It may look a little different. There are different types of public works projects, methods to put them out for bid.
Any more questions here, Chris?
I just wanted to appreciate this additional kind of capital projects are always kind of additional things on your plate. It's not just the regular ongoing maintenance and dealing with the storms and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to acknowledge that this is a big chunk of work. And so thank you so much for taking this on and recognizing that this is the beginning of, the ongoing, but just wanted you to know that it is seen that this is a big chunk. So thank you.
Great. We have any more questions for Chris? No? Great. We have no public for public comment. Do we have any discussion up here for the board members?
I guess any discussion. Just okay. I'll say it again. No.
It's all good. All right, if not, I will entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'd like to authorize the advertisement for the bids for asphalt work, roofing, play structures, and shade structures.
I'll second that.
Great. So Daniel,
Aye.
Chris, aye.
Shelley,
Aye.
Rachel, aye. Thank you, Chris. Our next agenda item is consent actions. If nobody has anything to pull out or ask questions about, I will entertain a motion on all of these. There's no public here for comment. So,
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
yeah, we
No.
don't have any questions, comments on any of those items. I'll entertain a motion then.
I will make a motion to approve all consent actions on the agenda, items 1 through 8.
Second.
Great. Chris,
Aye.
Shelley,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
Rachel, aye. Thank you. Next item is board business, committee updates and reports and announcements by trustees.
I'll go first. I attended the White Hill Middle School band. Were you there?
No.
They said you were. I knew that they, I knew you were there.
Of course I was.
I was like, who is not here? They're confused with somebody else.
I was there but briefly and not for the whole thing.
Yeah.
I popped in.
Oh, wait. That wasn't the snake one. No, that was a different one.
The, I was so moved by that concert that I actually sent Malik and Pete Santucci a personal note because the work they've done with those kids and the sounds that came out of those instruments was just unbelievable. It was funny, the fifth grade parents were there because it was the combination, and I went up to a few of them, I said, when you hear what happens next year, but they do it every day, and they all went, oh my God, it was just amazing. So did that. Every year for the past few years, I've gone into Brookside to the classrooms of my sons who were in and gave a Black History talk. And every year I go to the teachers and I say, hey, I want to do this talk and this is what I'd like to do. And this was the first year that I didn't have to call. They called me and asked me to come in, which was really cool. And the kids were just wonderful. And I just want to say that you talked about the resolution. And one of the things I said to the kids, especially the third graders, I said, you ever have something really bad happen to you? And it just sticks with you and you can't get rid of it? And they're like, yeah. I said, well, they talked about slavery, and I said, well, when something bad happens to you, that's their history, not yours. Your history is how you got over that and became great from it, right? So I said, slavery happened, but it's not Black history. Black history is what we did with slavery. So we talked about the great inventions that came out, and they were so excited at the end, they were standing on chairs, like, just really excited about all these everyday things that were invented by African Americans. And then I always make my family's recipe of black eyed peas, and all the parents call for the recipe afterwards because the kids do not get enough of these. I'm like, what is happening? And sweet potato pie. So that was my contribution and delight. And I'm so happy that the teachers allow me to keep coming back and getting the room riled up with fun stuff. That's my report out.
I went to the orchestra, the White Hill 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, and 5th grade orchestra preview night. And yeah, to Chris's point, they're really good. Like,
They're really good.
They're really good. I was expecting not to be really good. It was exceptional. And so I talked to John and Mary Claire. I said, how do you make that event sooner in the year before the students select their electives for the 6th grade? Because a lot of the kids chose other things outside of orchestra, but as soon as they performed, the 5th graders, and they got to see what success looks like in years to come, a lot of them are like, I want to do that. So it's tough to move things around, but they heard that feedback as a way of, advertising that zero period around music. It was amazing. And then Nicole Smith, she did ChatGPT to introduce all the songs. What do they call it? And the performances, the pieces they were playing, the arrangements. And then each of the kids introduced one of the kids introduced each of the songs that they were doing, whatever. So it was fun. It was a great experience. It was really impressive. And I don't know, it was probably
Did you do it, JLAC? Was JLAC today?
No, because I'm going to Sacramento in
You
2
are?
weeks.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I was going to ask because I am too. Yay.
So we're going to Sacramento in 2 weeks with our
Yes, thank you.
Joint Legislative Action Committee.
So let us know if there's any
Thank you.
messages you would like us to convey to Sacramento before.
Oh, yes, the one where they're talking about switching the ADA to being just enrollment based.
Enrollment based.
Yeah.
Yes,
That
because
makes
that would
sense.
save so
They-
much.
They talked about that last year as well.
They talked about it at the school services event that we went to
Okay.
at the end of January too. But
The other one that's come up before is also the food.
that too.
Lunch is issue. So
So the White Hill thing was awesome.
well, that's going to be my report. Is it? That is coming up. So if there's anything else that is on your, or I think we'll get an agenda beforehand.
Yeah.
If we don't have it,
Not yet.
that we can also share like who we're meeting with and what kind of presentations in case that jogs any for staff as well, staff or other board members in terms of bringing it up because it's a very approachable. I mean, I've gone to it. You went to it last year.
Yeah,
didn't you?
20, 30 people go. It was awesome.
So it's definitely a venue of being able to like ask questions and get heard. So
That's great.
Oh, and equity multiplier on the LCFF for location.
Like
Like
the
a cost of living,
Yeah.
like a cost of living one. So like if you're living in somewhere that's like lower cost, like to Modesto or something
Yeah.
versus here.
Yeah.
That would be huge.
Oh, and then the TKK preview night at Brookside was good. I wonder if there's if we look at it more of like a sales pitch, succinct 3 words on a slide and move it instead of talking, in incredible detail about everything. And I would love to have that consistent across the district. So everybody's getting we don't need it to go into the parent club and we're going to ask for volunteers and, it's going to be $1,700 or $900 and, you can do this and that and all the clubs. It was just really overwhelming for a parent of a 4-year-old, right? And so we want to say everything, but we're still trying to sell them. We're still trying to advertise, right? So I wonder if there's just a way of looking at those preview nights with a different lens of really getting them excited and hooked. And they did, and it was exciting and it was awesome. We had some current students there, which was great.
but what I'm hearing is not an orientation. It should be.
Felt like an orientation.
It shouldn't be an orientation. It should be more of a. We really want you here. And here's
Here's a quick high-level overviews. Here's what our students are doing. Here's how they're doing it, or buddy programs, or whatever.
I tell you one thing, just having a tour of that TK room is a seller, and it's so amazing.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's incredible.
I'm gonna push this to suggestions for direction for the staff to
Okay.
the end because I do have add-ons to that, but
Okay.
because those are more direction than reporting out.
The videos. The only other comment update announcement is just the videos that are going up. I think those are great and helpful. Keep them coming.
Okay.
I guess that's direction of staff, but it's also a comment.
Let's see. So I went to the Yes Board meeting last night. They're working on their spring fundraising campaign. They are having a kind of event at Max in April with like a couple different big names like Victoria George and Stonefish, which are both parents in our school district, 2 parent groups. And then they're having like a big push in April for their fundraising. And so they're doing a ton of dine and donates and a lot of events are going on. The art show at Fairfax right now is up through I think the 25th, 26th, and they're doing an event on that last day to like honor the kids who have their artwork up. So if the kids have had their artwork posted up there for the last month, they're doing a ceremony just to say thank you and give them a certificate. And then there's like a dine and donate across the road at Slow Rock right after that. So, and then the Hidden Valley PTO meeting, I went to that and got to give an informational talk about the budget, which was interesting because I hadn't done that presentation. I got to deliver Tyler's presentation. Didn't botch it, so that was always a thumbs up. And then I went to just the briefest part of the White Hill Band concert on Friday, which was, I love going to those. So.
Libby and I doing parking.
Yep, I know, letting me get in and out, so it was fun. I got to go in and say hi to the music teachers. So that was what I've been up to. All right, and moving on to the approval of regular meeting minutes for January 29th, 2025. Do you have any edits to these or changes? I did not.
Shelley, I think you were
I think
here.
this is the one I was just gonna say, I didn't think I was here.
Yeah.
But I think you have enough people to leave too. Okay.
All right, I will, there's no one here for public comment. I'll entertain a motion if there's no discussion on this one.
I will make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes for January 29th, 2025.
I'll second that. Chris?
Aye.
Rachel, aye. Daniel? Shelley?
Abstain.
Okay, so those are approved. And then superintendent and cabinet report.
Great, I just have a couple quick ones. This week, thank you to Teresa for getting my schedule nice and organized. I was able to get to Manor, Whitehill, and Wade Thomas for some classroom visits, so walk classrooms with principals. It's always a joy to get to chat with students and see our teachers in action. It's definitely the highlight of my job is being out there in the classroom. So thank you to the principals there for hosting me. Lots of conversations on the parcel tax recently. Did an informational discussion with the Brookside PTA last Wednesday, I believe, last Wednesday or Thursday, and then Wade Thomas PTA last Friday morning. Parents very interested in supporting and volunteering, and then also interested meeting with other interested community members that might have questions or confusion. Happy to continue to meet with anyone who might have questions about the parcel tax or why we're going out for the parcel tax. And then went to the Manor staff meeting with Julia last week as well, where they were reviewing iReady data and identifying focal students to help support who might be struggling. So fun last few weeks. Julia?
This week is such a big week with 4 days of training for the ELA program. So that's been terrific, and our teachers are, again, just doing some really big heavy lifting, having already learned a program in the fall and learning a new program now to try out. And then I think the other thing is, as we work on enrollment and staff, informs staffing, and staffing informs hiring. And we're really getting all our ducks in a row to jump into hiring season as quickly as possible. We already have some positions advertised on EdJoin. We're in the process. We have 2 different positions for which we're already setting up interviews. So really trying to hit the ground running.
Sure.
We had our second wellness committee meeting of the year last Monday. It was really great to once again have a number of student ambassadors here from our middle school. It was really tremendous, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, so we ran the gamut. And on our agenda, we talked about, got an update on food services, which was a really lively conversation, and then an update on our elementary wellness program. So we look forward to our next wellness committee meeting in April. And just to tag along to the staffing and hiring front, we've got a new resource teacher that we've brought on board through an agency who's just been great, as a tremendous find. And she's supporting Brookside and Manor because those resource caseloads are too big for one person. And also we have a new in-house hire, speech and language pathologist, who's also terrific, and she's taken over at Wade Thomas, where we've been having virtual services for this year. So as always, as we all know, getting started in the middle of the year is never easy, but the site admin, other teachers and staff, Meredith here in the district office are all just doing everything they can to support a smooth transition in. So we're grateful to be getting really good people at strange times of the year. So so that's it for student services.
Chris?
Our food services RFP is out, and Tyler sent it out to one vendor, and we're also trying to contact 10 others, one of which is the lunch master, to let them know that the RFP is out and available. We're hoping that we get more than one response, obviously. And if we get more than one response, then we would look to do a taste test with our students. We would probably look to, in particular, the wellness committee group of kids. So that we're looking forward to that. And also, I attended last week the governor's budget proposal meeting through the Marin County Office of Education, and FICMAT was there giving the presentation. And what's interesting is, and it was the same at school services, you're getting a common response where they're telling you that you're going to get all of these new funds, for example, to fully fund the transitional kindergarten, but they're telling you not to book the revenue, which would mean you would have to hire the staff without the offsetting revenue. They're telling you that you're going to get different block grants, but don't book the revenue. And so it's the first time that I've really started to see this practice, and a lot of it has to do with with what happened in the fires in LA, but I just wanted to point that out, and I'll make sure that everybody gets a copy of that presentation. Really, other than that, there was really nothing different than what we had heard previously.
Thank you all. Moving on, meeting review, future board topics, and board direction. Looping back around to what Daniel and Shelley mentioned on the TKA preview, school preview nights, not just those two, but maybe White Hill as well. I would maybe suggest that we look at doing those in the fall before we open registration, so people have an idea of what they're looking at before registration opens, and it's not like 3 weeks afterwards or longer, because I think that people are already making decisions by the time January hits. Especially if people are like, hey, should I look at private school or should I look at public school? And I don't want to be the default, like the last choice. I want to be like, hey, we're great, come and check us out now. And so they know what they're looking at when they're and it's comparable when they're looking at other places. I know it's hard because it's a bigger lift doing it in the fall and teachers are really busy, but I think it might help with enrollment. So.
And I would echo that around just random White Hill events for our elementary school students. I've talked about that previously and mentioned it to John and Mary Claire. Like, how do you get third grade buddies with the 7th graders and you just have a 3rd grade field trip to White Hill a day that you just, so again, parents and students like, oh wow, look at this is cool. I can't wait to go to school here. Because again, I'm still having parents come up like, oh, we're looking at St. Anselm's, we're looking at other schools. So it's like, how do we just promote that to younger families sooner? Maybe not overwhelming at the TK and K, but 2nd, 3rd grade, parents are starting to think about middle school. And so just having a field trip for kids to go, just to see it. Or take them to a basketball game at White Hill.
Before 5th grade.
Before 5th grade, absolutely.
Step up Dave's also like in May or something for the 5th graders. And they do go to White Hill, but it may be like having
At that point, it's like, this is where you're going.
Yeah, because by then you've already like picked your elective. So it's like maybe doing it beforehand so you have an experience. So you know what, hey, I know what it looks like in the music room now. I know what it looks like when I go to the choir room. I know what the art room looks like.
And that step up day, that's kind of the preview night, right? The White Hill preview night that was just recently?
So step up day is when the 5th graders go on a field trip.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, but it's like in May.
But even with the White Hill preview night, that was just at the end of January for families and kids, right? Hey, check it out. You could do that sooner. Mm-hmm. But my singular point is, a lot of kids that had siblings at White Hill already didn't attend. And I feel like that was a little bit of injustice because it's new for that kid's experience. It's going to be different for that kid versus an older sibling who's there. And so a lot of the families and 5th graders didn't think they needed to attend because, oh, I've got a sibling there, you know. And maybe that's true. But also, hey, if you're new to White Hill, we want you to come to the preview night. We want you, it's not about your sibling. I don't know, maybe a small thing, but.
Do you know what the history is of having the preview nights this time of year as opposed to earlier, later, or not later, but earlier? I'm trying to remember. Other than it being timed to correspond with when
I think this is an easy suggestion for us to take and run with. Yeah. I think there's a few things that I've learned in the first few months here about what other districts in the area, schools in the area are doing in terms of early communication, sending little, little cards to families about the schools and registration. And moving these dates up, I don't think would be a Herculean effort. I kind of like the idea too of hosting like a 4th grade, 5th grade basketball night, like to come watch a basketball game and cheer for White Hill. Little things like that I think go a long way and help kind of humanize the school. Because once you get on the campus, you realize that like the kids are amazing, the teachers are fantastic, the leaders that we have there are second to none. Like White Hill is an amazing middle school.
Even the theater program. So
Mm-hmm.
White Hill did something early on in the season. Now all the elementary schools are doing their programs. So I wonder how we just like, hey, White Hill's theater is coming up. Everybody should go if you would, just to promote that. Like as a thing. They could.
I thought they used. I mean,
No, the
The
students.
elementaries go to elementary school ones, but they only go to their own school.
Yeah.
It would be easy for us to put together a series of events, and it's not even anything new. It's just communicating to 4th and 5th grade families that like these are great nights for you to attend. There's a basketball game, there's a theater event, there's a musical,
Exactly.
and if you want to introduce, like this is the one to come to because the principals will there and say something about White Hill.
There's so many kids that go to the Archie basketball games because they're right there and we're driving by. And how do you just promote that to the White Hill games?
Yeah.
Different experience, different vibe.
Yeah.
But again, it's more realistic for them to see, so both are great.
even doing the preview nights in the fall, because I know there's a whole lot of effort put into the back to school orientation stuff that teachers do. Is there any way of piggybacking off of that? I don't know. I don't know if it's too early, but it feels like there's a lot of effort that's put into that back to school kind of fall experience that you might then be able to just do another orientation.
Yeah, we'll take actually a cabinet today. We talked about getting committee dates ready for next year, so we could start talking to our principals about what's doable. Like, moving up to November, is that more doable, or December gets to be a busy month and there's only half of it, so we can talk to our principals about making a decision on that.
And what is the other part of the relationship with preschools? I don't know, building relationships with all the different preschools in the area early on to, especially with the TK stuff.
Yeah.
I know that that's a conversation with them, but I think just being in conversation with them and just.
And they're a bit probably missing a lot of revenue.
That's why I know that
from the
it's
TK thing.
difficult.
Kind of touchy.
It is a touchy conversation, but I think it's worth being in conversation,
For sure.
not shying away from it.
And TK's not mandated. So a lot of these schools, like daycaring, for example, Genevieve, they're telling parents you don't have to go to TK. You can still get everything here. They're still telling parents that.
Absolutely, they need the revenue.
They need the revenue.
And then they're starting to go younger as well. So even like, depending on the preschools you're looking at, before they had an age, maybe they only had 2 kids in diapers. Now they're opening it up to like 12 because they just need the revenue because they're losing it on the back end with their TK program. So it's all about butts and seats.
I acknowledge that this is an uncomfortable, a difficult, but I do think that a message of like, we are a continuum of support for families and children, and how do we continue to work together in that realm as a community supporting all of our children from preschool all the way up, because we're all one big community. So however, even if it's an uncomfortable conversation, and I know that sometimes there's a lack of spaces for 2 and 3-year-olds because preschools are full, and so I don't know what it is.
And TK doesn't go all day long, so they still can get the daycare after school too.
That's true too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
So I don't know. I want to say let's step into some more difficult conversations, but it's there in front of us, and
Any other future board topics or board direction? Nope. All right. Meeting debrief. Any comments? Try not to rush Tyler next time. Sorry, I skipped over your finishing slide on that one. That's my bad. Earlier. All right. Other than that, I don't need to continue motion past 10:30, so it's 9:02, and I will adjourn our meeting.
Thank you.